Welcome to the Couch Coven. I'm your host, Teddy.
I'm Laura.
Welcome back, couch potatoes.
I love that. That's so cute. Our little couch potatoes.
I have this image in my mind of a little cartoon potato wrapped up in a little blanket with a cup of tea.
I'm imagining the blanket looks like tinfoil, like it's a baked potato.
It's wearing a little sour cream hat, some bacon bits on it. Today, we want to talk about consumerism in America specifically. We live in the United States, so can't speak to Canada or anywhere in Europe.
No matter what, it's all colonized.
It's all humans trying to make money because everywhere in the world is run by capitalism. How are you today, Laura?
Considering we live in a capitalist hellscape, I'm doing okay. Things could be worse. I'm recognizing my blessings. This is the perfect time for us to do a reading.
I guess so. Do you have anything you wanted to talk about?
No. So I'll do a card pull as well.
Okay. Oh.
What you got?
Huh.
Did you ask your deck any particular question?
I just have in mind the spirit of what we're doing, and I feel like we have our own little portal, so I just kind of shuffle and pull, and whatever comes up, comes up. Have you asked any specific question?
For today, I just asked my cards to give a message to whomever needs a message that might listen to this episode.
I have pulled the Star reversed, and on the bottom of my deck was the Ten of Swords upright. The swords haunt me. We have a good relationship, but oh my god. What did you get?
I pulled 3 cards. I got Knight of Pentacles, 7 of Pentacles, and I got Ace of Swords. 9 of Cups is on the bottom of my deck. Tell me what you get from your reading.
As my brain space has been doing lately, it's not there. So I'm just going to read from the description from the same book that I usually do, The Tarot Magic by Lindsay Squire. Reversed, the star is a symbol of lost hope, despair, and a lack of confidence. Although this card indicates you're feeling hopeless, your situation isn't without hope, it's just that you feel it is. It can indicate you're feeling overwhelmed by day-to-day activities, but you can turn your situation around with a change of attitude. It's a reminder that old behaviors, beliefs, and thoughts won't help you grow. It's also a signal to challenge your core beliefs to see if they still align with who you are. Not entirely awful. I'm going to flip over to the Ten of Swords. The Ten of Swords upright represents defeat and failure. Sign to watch your own back. This card indicates painful endings, cutting ties, hitting rock bottom, and reaching a dead end. Thanks to Gemini, the ruling sign of this card, you may struggle with anxiety attacks.
Oh, great.
This card also indicates you're taking on the role of a victim to help you get through this difficult time. Your cards ever read you to fucking filth?
Yes. They sure do.
That is the filthiest reading I have gotten in a long time. They really said, you've been thinking about this all the right way. You've been doing this. Holy shit. Keep going because I'm going to strangle you if you don't. It feels like someone's trying to choke me out and they're going, yeah. They're enjoying it too much. All right, you talk about yours. What do you think?
Well, firstly, my condolences on your filthy reading.
If only it was like sexy and filthy.
Yeah, the fun kind of filthy.
Maybe we could turn it into that. Who knows? I just got to give into it, I guess.
I feel bad because you got a horrible reading, and I feel like this is a really beautiful reading. I don't know who it's for, but I do feel like it sort of speaks to me a little bit, so I'm sorry.
Mine is the scene, yours is the aftercare.
I got Knight of Pentacles, which is not a expressly positive message, but I do think there's a sense of duty to something or there's a responsibility regarding something. The next card I got was the 7 of Pentacles. At least according to my booklet, I'm doing the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. It says that this reading can be contradicting, but I think that it's not necessarily a contradiction. I think it's just 2 sides of a coin, for lack of a better term. There is a passion in something. There can be success in that passion. There will be trials and tribulations as well. And then Ace of Swords is finding success and victory in what you've thrown yourself at. On the bottom of the deck, 9 of Cups, which is contentment, being your fat, happy self in bed and loving life, kind of reaping the benefits of your hard work from the day. I don't know who it's for. I do feel like it resonates with me, but if it resonates with you, that's incredible. I'm really grateful for such a nice little message there. With effort and care in our duties and responsibilities within ourselves, then we find success and passion.
Speaking of coins, you know what we're talking about today? Americans spending their money on things that they don't need because of psychological
torture.
We are being tortured. Everything is an ad. Do you want to lead us? Do you want to be our line leader in today's episode? Start us off strong?
I didn't really put any definitions now that I think about it, but one that I think is important to talk about is the simple definition of media, which is the plural of mediums, a type of thing that you use or do something through.
Art mediums is what I think of. So paint, pencils, paper.
Anything that you can really create with. So mediums, movies, music are mediums, news outlet, news shows are mediums, posts online are mediums, print media, digital media. Basically, it's all of the information that we're taking in on a daily basis. What's important to understand is that there's a difference between what, like an artistic medium and what is used as advertising. There's so much in American consumerism and in the advertisement industry where they try so hard to make advertisements seem like normal pieces of media so that you're tricked into it. You know what I mean? Like, especially in the last few years, in the last 8 to 10 years, there's been a lot more usage by corporations to use memes in their products, things like that, that are just widely known pieces of comedy, so to speak, that have nothing to do with that corporation in particular, but they use it because they understand, oh, people view this as a piece of media for entertainment, when in reality it is to manipulate you into buying their product. And the reason I think that is important to mention is because I did some research on for this episode was about the advertisement industry targeting the youth and how children do not, especially like under the ages of 10, don't have the same discernment that older people have in regards to being able to tell what is an ad, what is trying to manipulate them, and what is a piece of media. According to a 2004 article, advertisers spent more than $12 billion a year on marketing solely meant for the eyes and ears of children, and that would be $21 billion in today's money. Many studies have shown that the increase in advertising for non-nutritious foods at this time, which held a high percentage of food-related advertising, was directly correlated with increased rates of childhood obesity. I mean, there's no surprise there, of course. Still very concerning and disheartening. There was a 2018 study that shows children viewing TV ads have a strong association with knowledge of unhealthy food branding, like fast foods and candy, and very weak association with knowledge relating to healthy food brands, which is also no surprise. There is something called the Task Force for Advertising in Children who review these types of studies, and they discovered that children had an overall positive association with tobacco and alcohol related ads. I remember hearing about this when I was growing up. There was sort of like public concern regarding advertisements on non-child products towards children. When vapes became a thing, that was like a big deal where they're making like sour candy flavored vapes and they're making them like hot pink. They're marketing them towards children. I remember thinking like, what do you mean like an adult can't enjoy sour candy, hot pink stuff? What do you mean? Exactly.
Damn, I was vaping the hell out of those vapes. Give me a mango Juul pod, please. Every once in a while, I smell it in the atmosphere, and I go, ugh. If I tried to hit a Juul now, I would probably die. That shit is so thick and heavy, that vapor. I don't know how I did it. I would die. They're now illegal.
For good reason. I wasn't sheltered as a kid. I was just very like anxious and not wanting to like put things in my body that like I didn't know. People would make the joke that like a Monster energy drink would kill a peasant. A Monster energy drink would kill me.
My mom had an energy drink once, and it turned her even more straight edge than she already is.
She saw sounds.
I'm pretty sure she did.
Yeah, energy drinks is another thing that was really marketed towards children. I remember my best friend in high school was drinking energy drinks when she was like 14 years old, like NOS energy drinks.
All the cool guys at church, all the sporty guys at church drank the rock stars.
The Task Force for Advertising in Children also found a large percentage of in-home conflict resulted from parents denying their children the items they were seeing in the ads. Part of that contributed to the actual way those ads were made. You know, a lot of the time it would show a parent-child relationship in the ad. I remember experiencing that, seeing like that happen in an ad where parents are like, okay, son, we'll get you this cool thing. And he fucking loves it and it's awesome and super extreme because everything was back in the day. Like it was like super soaker XL plus, you know, and then your parents don't get it for you because they're like, no, you don't fucking need that. That's crazy. What do you mean? A $45 piece of plastic. Get out of here. And I remember thinking, my mom doesn't love me as much as the kids in those commercials, which was true, unrelated to the product. It caused a lot of strife in families to show the dynamic in the commercial where the parents like, okay, we'll get you the thing. And then parents don't do that in real life. And they're like, Mom, you suck, I hate you, or whatever. It's marketing manipulation. According to Google, there are only only 3 federal laws in the US regarding advertising to children. The Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, which according to Google applies to commercial websites and apps that are directed to children under the age of 13, restricting data collection, use, and disclosure of their personal information, which was enacted in the year 2000. And that was the most recent enactment of any federal law regarding protecting children in advertising. And I don't know about you. I would say that a lot of shit has changed in the advertising world and the tech world in the last 20 years. That's kind of wild.
Parents exploiting their children for money because the children are used to advertise for products, especially on YouTube. And with the rise of social media, it's so easy to exploit your children, use them as advertisements. That's another big one.
The other federal laws, there are 3. The COPPA, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. There's the Children's Television Act, which limits the amount of commercial matter advertising that was allowed in children's programming on TV. Apparently, it was 10.5 minutes per hour on weekends and 12 minutes on weekdays, which is really bizarre. What's weird is that was enacted in 1990. I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel like they don't do that anymore. Like, I feel like commercials take up so much time, and there's no way there's 10.5 minutes per hour on children's programming. Like, I feel like it's got to be more than that.
I haven't done research on this, so correct me if I'm wrong or if you don't know. Well, this is the Children's Television Act. And at this point in time, most kids don't watch TV. They watch streaming services. So there's no rules. The only thing content creators have is that they have to tell you when something is an ad. In their video, if they have a product placement, if they are advertising something, they have to tell you it's an ad. The AdSense is what makes them their money, and paid partnership is what makes them their money, but there's no limitations on that. Like, you could have a 20-minute video as an ad on a YouTube video.
Ads themselves are still subject to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission Act. That bitch was enacted in 1914, and nobody pays attention to it anymore. It's a prohibition on unfair or deceptive acts, which applies to ads that exploit children's vulnerabilities, such as promoting dangerous activities or using deceptive tactics. That's Section 5 specifically, was just based on children. That was going to be my third federal, which isn't even, it's literally just a facet of a larger umbrella bill. Those are the only 3 federal laws that protect children in regards to advertising, and one of them was enacted 112 years ago. Maybe it's time to update some things. Aside from those 3 federal bills that were put in to protect children, kind of, there are some states who have made more restrictions. There are some states who have banned ads that are targeted to those under the age of 18, and some states have restricted the collection and sale of the personal information of minors, but that's it. There are no federal laws have been enacted since any of these studies took place. The crazy part is only some states decided it was illegal. It's not even illegal. It says some states have restricted the collection and sale of personal information of minors. How is that not a federal law? What do you mean you're selling the personal information of minors? I mean, you shouldn't be selling anybody's personal information, but of fucking children? Get the fuck out of here.
I mean, there's no legal age minimum for getting married without your parents' consent. So, like,
that's
I
true.
mean,
That's
so
true.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised. I'm still outraged because it's all manipulation, every last bit of it. There is something called the CARU. I don't know if that's what they call themselves, but that's what I call them. The Children's Advertising Review Unit, who provides guidelines to the advertisement industry. And those basics of guidelines are: do not exploit a child's lack of experience or credulity. Do not feature direct appeals to children to purchase products. You should not be asking children to buy anything but ice cream. Clearly differentiate between programming and advertising. That's the big one, is clearly differentiate what is program for entertainment and what is advertising, because kids have a hard time discerning that. They're not expecting to be manipulated. And then lastly, update the guidelines to include influencer marketing and in-game purchases, because that's another thing, is there's so much marketing that's done in video games that's not regulated. The laws that have been put in place have mainly been about television. There is another organization called the National Financial Educators Council who is pushing to remove all child targeted advertising advertising specifically for those 8 and under, because this age group generally does not have the cognitive development to discern the ads from non-marketing related media. According to studies mentioned by this group, in 2015, the average US child viewed roughly 40,000 ads on television alone. That did not include public or printed ads. That did not include web-based ads. That did not include app-based, school-related, or video game-based ads. That was solely on TV, 40,000 ads a year. While, of course, these organizations are calling for policy changes within the industry, the method they recommend the most to people to combat manipulative advertising is media literacy. It's just understanding the manipulation tactics that media companies are using to push their products, understanding the difference between what's an ad and what's not. This is why children are so much more at risk than adults, because we are able to discern that better. So it's so important that we increase our media literacy.
Planned obsolescence. Are y'all ready? If you don't know what this is already, I'm so sorry to break it to you. Planned obsolescence is when products are intentionally manufactured to break or become unusable within a short time frame. There are 2 factors in goods becoming obsolete. One is products no longer being desirable because of trends changing. Corporations create thousands of goods and services based on what's popular, or more accurately, corporations and brands drive these trends, i.e., advertising. Second, the physical object deteriorates to spur repurchasing. You have brands and manufacturers selling you things season after season after season. You notice your favorite pair of jeans is no longer being sold. That forces you to buy a new pair of jeans from a different style or a different brand, when in fact there are probably still thousands of that pair of jeans that you originally purchased just sitting somewhere, sitting in a warehouse because some corporation decided that, oh, well, we weren't selling enough of them, or we bought too many of them. We'll get into that later. Secondly, the physical object deteriorates to spur repurchasing. I would say electronics are probably the largest group of produced things that you could think of. Electronics and clothes. Why does every electronic you buy now break? Why does it feel cheap as hell? There's always been a planned shelf life for products and merchandise. Manufacturers and companies and corporations have always planned for products to break down.
Of course, every product has a shelf life, even if it's of the highest quality. Every material breaks down over time.
Yes.
There are a large number of materials that shouldn't break down within a human's lifetime.
Technological advancements have created this brutal cycle of growing and cultivating and mining resources at an alarming rate in order to mass manufacture products. Even if unintentional, which it is not, these methods inevitably produce cheaper quality goods. They're trying to pump out things faster, get people to buy things more, things break more easily because they're cheaper, which means they can push new products on you, etc. Technological advancements are actually why your cars break down faster and don't last longer. Even if the person who drives the car doesn't understand shit about cars, the mechanics used to be able to take cars and make them last longer because there weren't any computers regulating anything. It was all within the human's hands.
Something that I've learned, because they're trying to save money, because they're also trying to save space, there are parts in modern engines that are so insanely miserable to work on because you have to take apart so much of your engine to get to these parts to be able to work on them. Whereas older vehicles, there was so much space that you could often operate around things. Not only in planned obsolescence do items break down faster in vehicles and in things that you should be able to repair yourself, you do not have that option.
Which drives more business towards auto shops. I've looked at repairs on my car that should be relatively easy. I look at how much it costs and I look at what it is. The mechanics talk to me about everything they have to disassemble, and that's why it takes so long. That's why it's so expensive. It's all just labor, because you look at the parts, what actually is happening in the car, it's not that much, and then you get to the labor part of it.
Short example, 3 weeks to 2 months after the warranty expired, my check engine light came on. It has not gone off pretty much ever since, and I've had the car in the shop 3 different times for that issue, and the issue is still not permanently fixed. Genuinely, nothing else wrong with the car. It's in perfect condition except for this just random shit that no matter if I get it worked on, it's still not fixed. It is crazy.
Each year since the iPhone has launched, there have been innumerable OS updates. Your system has to update, right? If your current iPhone is more than 2 years old, the updates cause it to run slower and malfunction. Apps, services, and quote unquote necessary operations require these constant updates. It also gets you new features. At a certain point, the iPhone will no longer be able to update, which renders it obsolete. Phone cameras are a huge selling point of smartphones due to the rise of social media and the pressure for users to have the highest quality images they can, even if it's just to send grandma a picture of her new baby. OS updates don't update your camera, so you have to buy the new phone. Rendered battery life because
Such
it
bullshit.
is. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. There are so many apps that you can't use on older operating systems because they update the app to fit the new operating system, especially if there are new features, and then you can't use it, thus forcing you to upgrade your technology. And then there are so many like cell phone carriers like T-Mobile, AT&T, etc. always have deals on the newest phones to get you to upgrade, and sometimes your phone is only a year old. This also stops consumers from being able to purchase phones secondhand. Phones get locked by those specific carriers. You have to use a compatible phone with a compatible carrier. So you have to purchase a smartphone that has been on, say, the AT&T network in order to use it with AT&T, which makes finding phones even more difficult. And some people will scam you and it's not an unlocked phone, etc., etc. It shouldn't be that way, especially because I've purchased all of my phones outright. Why can't I just stick a new SIM card in? And they don't even make physical SIM cards anymore. They're all
I know.
eSIMs and they don't work except for my little track phone that has a physical SIM card in it, so they can suck it. They plan for these things to stop working. You can't use it anymore. And because they plan to release new technology that is newer and shinier and better and faster with all of these new features, with ways that are supposed to make your life easier to help you connect better, which really just helps the surveillance state and keeps us on these phones, which keeps us from really absorbing anything outside of that, and also short circuits us because our nervous systems are so fried because of honorable mention for blue light frying our brains. In terms of planned obsolescence, companies will buy lots of product. Manufacturers have specific minimums. So the corporation or the company, the business has to buy a specific amount of product in order to actually buy the product. It's more than they need. It's more than they want. It's more than they can sell. But the manufacturer is trying to make their money. Dead stock is accumulated product that has not been sold within 6 to 12 months of manufacturing. Something is considered dead stock, something that is losing the company money, that won't sell, that doesn't turn a profit, after 6 to 12 months. That is a year. So all of the iPhones that were released last year are considered dead stock if they're sitting in a warehouse somewhere. Contributing factors to dead stock are changing trends, seasonal merchandise, and over-ordering. Based on sale projections and supplier order minimums, a company could end up with warehouses full of unsellable items. Anything you can think of that ends up on the shelves. There are retail chains and other things called dead stock stores or warehouses people can find and go to. I have tried to do a lot of research on finding these dead stock malls and warehouses. They seem to be difficult to find, or it's small family run businesses that have this older merchandise that you can purchase. A lot of the dead stock that you'll find is from the early 2000s. A retail chain that kind of has this in mind was Dirt Cheap. It bought unsold inventory from companies like Target. Target, I believe, was their primary source of inventory. I've actually been to Dirt Cheap and I bought some really cheap Target stuff. And it's all brand name Target stuff, never been sold, never been put on the shelves, is not returned merchandise. It's just stuff that they didn't sell.
I'm sure it's by design that these dead stock stores are hard to find.
I would assume that a lot of these dead stock stores purchased these items through liquidation sites, so the corporation isn't making money off of it. Dirt Cheap, I just found out, apparently 2 weeks ago, they announced that they're closing all of their stores after the parent company filed for bankruptcy. I don't know what that's about. I don't really care. It was a cheap and dirty store. It was genuinely so dirty. There was just dirt everywhere. It was actually so gross. Companies like Target sell their returns and overstock through liquidation auction sites. A patron will buy a bulk sum sum for specific weights of merchandise. Individuals do not control what exactly they're buying in size or quantity. That is one way to keep things out of the landfills, but it's also just a person buying a whole bunch of shit. Returns are not considered dead stock. So if you return an item to a store, that's not considered dead stock. Sometimes they put it in these bins that they can resell. Most of the time they destroy them. All the shit that gets made that doesn't get purchased goes to a landfill, and it's all full of toxic chemicals. So whether or not a company purchases this merchandise, it's still polluting the earth. It is the opposite of sustainability. Don't buy with the trends.
We all fall victim to it. I've bought stuff from Shein before I knew what they were. And then when I learned what Shein is, I was like, oh, that's why they're so fucking cheap. Of course I'm not going to buy there anymore. Don't beat yourself up because you fell victim to the marketing and shit, or like bought something that you don't feel good about. Grow and move forward.
If you purchase something from a site like Shein, Amazon, or something like that, if you purchase something that's been mass produced because you needed it, you didn't realize where it came from, how unethically it was sourced, don't throw it away. If you can use it, don't throw it away. Just because you purchased something and you were ignorant to its origins, you don't have to throw it away. Throwing it away actually creates more of an issue because you're creating the waste. But if you purchase something and you realize, oh shit, this was made by like a 2-year-old in the Congo, throwing that away doesn't help them. It's made, which is why it's so important to repurchase things, like refurbished things.
The whole point is to avoid purchasing it. But if it's already purchased, keep it and utilize it. Don't create more waste just because you feel bad for purchasing it.
Even if it's something that was cheaply manufactured, you can still take care of it. Potentially, you can still repair it. There are so many different ways that you can repair things. Repair services have gone completely out of style, and they've been tanked because product is not meant to be repaired anymore. It's meant to be thrown away. If it breaks, you throw it away. There's so many different avenues to avoid this cycle of consumerism, which is honestly what a lot of this is about, just consumerism. And this is not to shame anybody or to guilt anybody. If you don't know about this or if you don't know what to do, that's okay. Start with looking at what you have. Something that I've tried to do to restore my relationship with money and scarcity is, I like to call it, mending and tending to the things I already have. I wear out my pants within 4 to 6 months. Okay. My thighs rub. If you know, you know. It looks kind of silly, but I patch them. I have so many scraps of clothes because the only thing that's worn out is the inner thighs. I repurpose shirts. I grew up with a mom who would use a piece of fabric until it was a worthless rag. I have so many socks with holes that I can't wear anymore and I don't want to bother darning. And I use them for dusting. I use them for rags. I use them for soaking up my dog's vomit.
I use old socks for random stuff too. Sometimes I just cut them and put them on my cat.
Consumerist mentality and the advertising, the psychological warfare of advertising has brainwashed the general public into believing they should just buy the newest thing instead of tending and mending to the things they already have, which are still fine.
A lot of this is contributed to by the push for individuality in our system and not community. If you're thinking about it like that, basically how this school of thought works is if it's cheaper for me to replace it than repair it, I'll just replace it. The only reason that that mentality has legs to stand on is because you're thinking about saving your own money. You're not worried about the community. If we thought about the further implications outside of how it directly affects us, then we would make different decisions.
There are so many people in your community who know how to repair things, who know how to take care of things.
The no buy group, there's like no buy groups on Facebook.
People just give shit away because they don't have any use for it and they know somebody else is going to use it and they say, I'm not trying to make money off of it. We're just trying to produce this sustainable community.
I have some curtains on my window that are from some lady's front porch.
My combat boots that I wear that are so comfy and such a great brand, and they've lasted me a couple of years, I picked them up off the curb because someone had put them out there with a bunch of other free stuff, and they were basically brand new. They were worn in a little bit, but there was almost no wear on the treads. The leather was still really good. Yeah, and I've conditioned them and I take care of them.
I've just got a little bit on advertising to women versus men. There's a study by the Gina Davis Institute that uncovered the following statistics regarding women in advertising media. It said in total, 25% of advertisements feature only men on screen. So 25% of advertisements, there are only men in it. compared to 5% of advertisements that feature only women. In total, 66% of women switched off films or television shows if they felt they were negatively stereotyping them, which is really interesting because that shows that there are still 44% of women who are willing to accept being badly stereotyped because they are under the conditioning of the patriarchy.
Yep.
Um, There are about twice as many male characters as female characters shown on screen in advertisements.
Mhm.
Men have 3 times as much speaking time as women, 3 times as
Yeah.
much speaking time as women.
Yet they're going to tell you that women are the ones that are yapping all the time. They're going to remember how much the woman spoke, not saying that the men anyway.
Oh yeah, there are studies saying in workplace settings, there are studies that show that if it's actually 50-50, men will see it as women being more
Yes.
because in their mind there's too many. It's crazy. Anyway, men have 3 times as much speaking time as women. In total, 85% of women say film and advertising need to catch up to the real world when depicting women. So 85% of women do not think that women are being depicted correctly. The National Center for Biotechnology Information reviewed a variety of 95 different studies regarding the effects of advertising on women, and many studies drew the same exact parallels. Exposure to idolized characters in ads over a 2-year period was associated with increased depression, decreased self-esteem, which suggests the psychological effects of targeted advertising are cumulative and long-lasting.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. And then they also found that women exposed to body positive advertising, like that of Aerie and Dove, show women who have stretch marks and who have normal human bodies.
Yeah.
They showed that they had significantly improved self esteem. And some studies showed this to be an immediate effect, that as soon as they saw that commercial, they were like, oh my God, I can be accepted. I love myself. I'm not saying you should support Aerie or Dove at all. I'm just saying they did have body positive
No, they
advertising
did.
at
They
some
did. And that is what my story is about. So I was walking through the mall, right? And I was probably like 17 or something like that. So I was a teenager. I've always had self-esteem issues. I've always had body issues, all of that. And it was the time when I think they really started this like no retouch campaign, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And there was a young woman on one of the big posters in the window, but her stomach wasn't completely fat. And what really got me, sorry, oh my God, no, slip of the tongue. Her stomach wasn't completely flat.
I knew I knew what you meant,
I
but it
know,
was so funny.
Her stomach wasn't completely flat. It resembled mine a little bit more. What really got me was that she had a little like tummy crease that was kind of red, like she had been bending over and then just stood up. You know, when you get that little like red kind of tummy crease line. I saw that ad and I kid you fucking not, I almost burst into tears
Oh,
because of how normal it made me feel. It was such a provocative experience for me because I saw an ad that genuinely wasn't flawless and looked more like what I saw in the mirror. Such a visceral experience. I was with like I was at the mall with my family, so I wasn't going to like break down in tears. So I'm not surprised those studies show that, especially with women and young women, where women are depicted as supposed to be these perfect specimens, and then you see something that is like, oh my fucking God. You know what I mean?
I won't say I had a similar experience when I saw those ads coming out. It moved me, and I remember because I mean everybody. I feel like everybody deals with some degree of body dysmorphia in their
Yeah.
life just because of the nature of our society. I feel like I didn't deal with that to the degree that other people dealt with. Not only because I've always been thin and fit and was constantly told that I had a body type that is what people strive for,
Ugh.
which was beyond me as a kid growing up. I was just like, I'm just existing.
That's a fucking weird thing to say to a kid anyway.
It is. It's really weird. And then there was also a lot of times where I would be dragged through the mud by people because they wanted to put me down to make themselves feel better. So I, of course, still had body dysmorphia issues. More so, I saw it in my friends, my friends who struggled being overweight and stuff like that. And like their parents would be really mean to them about it and things like that. And so I saw it as like, I saw myself as like a guardian of people's self-esteems.
Oh.
And I felt that like I would try really hard to make people, to like gas people up and like make them feel good about themselves. I realized that coming from somebody who has what they considered the ideal body type, they don't fucking want to hear it from me. They don't want to hear it from me. It doesn't mean anything to them when they see me. And again, I have my own issues. I don't see me the way they see me, but from the outside. And so it was really strange wanting to be really supportive of body positivity and be really open about it, and not feeling like I was allowed to,
Yeah.
because they're like, oh, what do you have to complain about? You look perfect. And I'm like, first of all, everybody has body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
Second of all, I'm literally being inclusive of everyone. Why are you mad at me? So when I saw those ads happening, I was so stoked, because I was like, yes, we're doing it. It's finally happening. Like, everyone's allowed to be themselves, you know?
I wouldn't be surprised if that's tied to, female competition.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Because I don't experience that nearly as much as I did when I was younger, back when, because women are much more like, the veil is lifted, and there are women who are like, oh, we were being pitted against each other all that time. Like,
Yeah.
I actually love you, you know?
You're cool as fuck.
Yeah. So like, I don't experience that the way that I used to. But I do still get lots of, it's funny. I now, when it comes to my physical body, I will get compliments from women. Sorry, I don't know if you just heard a bunch of rattling, but my cat's food just dropped.
Ooh, dinner
It's
time.
going to be munching down on it right now. Anyway, now I find that women compliment me, genuine compliments, and men compliment me, backhanded compliments, or just straight up insults. And I'm like, oh, you're just attracted to me and you're insecure. That's what's happening. And all the women are like, you're incredible. I love you. And it's amazing. And it wasn't like that when we were growing up. And I'm
No,
so
it wasn't.
grateful that we're moving in that direction.
Me too. Me too.
Oh, I forget I'm the one talking. I'm the one going over information. I'm like just sitting here waiting for you to say something, and I'm like, oh, I forgot.
I can talk. I can talk for hours.
Well, I'll finish up this real quick. Oh yes, that's what I was going to say. Just the last thing. So while it was really great to see that, to see the I keep doing that, body positive, the
Bodhisattva. Is that what you're thinking about?
while those body positive ads were really helpful and inspiring to a lot of women, there was a lot of people who, some of these studies revealed, showed that women who had increased media literacy acknowledged the fact that these body positive ads were still a form of manipulation, and they were perhaps just being performative and still trying to sell a product. So it's funny, just the juxtaposition of like, okay, this is an ad directed at me for people with my body type, and I would benefit from this product, but them showing me it like that is manipulation. So it's like,
Yeah.
just understanding like where that all lies in advertising, and like that you have the discernment to decide, okay, this is advertising, this is manipulation. However, this marketing calls to me, and I do think I would benefit from this product. Do I need this product? And then go from there. You know what I mean? So acknowledging all, even the ads that make you feel good, they're making you feel good for manipulation to make you buy the product, and just acknowledging that, and acknowledging, okay, is this even a product I need? And is it sustainable? What else? What are the other factors in here? You know, so that media literacy goes so far.
Yep.
Oh, and it's really important. Speaking of media literacy, I think it's so important that we increase our media literacy in a serious way. And there are YouTube videos that you can watch that help increase media literacy. One that I watched recently that I really, really enjoyed is Introduction to Media Literacy Crash Course Media Literacy #1. This is a YouTube video from a YouTube channel called Crash Course. There is a part 2 of this video as well, but it was super helpful, and it explained things as if it was a 5-year-old understanding. You know, it was like very detailed, very helpful in the definitions of things and stuff like that. I highly recommend that. So there are also courses that you can pay for that might give you more information in regards to media literacy, but ultimately everybody needs to have that cognition to be like, hold on, am I being manipulated here?
Yeah.
Do you have some personal experiences that you want to go into regarding how the 90s, early 2000s marketing hit you, and how it affected you, and how you tried to undo that once you realized that you were a product of consumerism and stuff?
I really remember being influenced by advertisements and social pressure as well, because those two can go hand in hand, when I was in high school. Before then, I don't know. I went to the library and I read a lot of books. We often got hand-me-down gaming systems and things like that. So it was really when I was in high school that I started being influenced by YouTube. I watched a lot of beauty YouTuber content. I got really into makeup and was aware of the trends. I was always trying to keep up with girls that I look up to. I grew up with a very frugal mom, and when I got older and I had my own money, I was able to spend it on things like Forever 21. I was able to buy into the advertisements. I definitely felt pressure for specific items like cell phones and different electronic devices and certain clothing items and beauty products. A lot of that was of my own making because my friends didn't really care about any of that shit. I also didn't have any friends.
What do you think prompted that?
Body dysmorphia, gender identity, it was sexuality, it was performance, trying to be something that I wasn't and make me feel better about myself. So I never really bought into the school fads and things like that because I was also homeschooled. I had a really weird relationship with advertising because I wasn't in the typical social situation that like you grew up in. I sometimes would buy into it, sometimes not. But since I had a very frugal upbringing, I was raised on reduce, reuse, recycle. So while I have fell victim to some trends, I was also taught spending $60 on a pair of pre-ripped jeans was absolutely absurd. It was mostly that 15 to maybe 19 range where I really fell victim to ads and marketing, mostly because of YouTube.
So would you say that homeschooling might have been beneficial to you in that because you didn't have all of that outside influence? Because I feel like having grown up in public school and stuff, like not had what I was watching on TV be monitored. Do you think having the religious background and being homeschooled might have been beneficial to you specifically only when it comes to having all of these ads in your face all the time growing up?
Another huge factor of it was that we didn't have cable. We only had broadcast television. Most of the ads that I saw were during like primetime television watching, where if I was watching anything in the afternoon or in the morning, it was typically like PBS Kids, or we were rewatching DVDs, we were rewatching VHSs. We didn't have streaming services at that time. Or we went to Blockbuster and we rented videos. I really wasn't exposed to the same level of advertisement. It was mostly when I went to the mall or when we went on vacation and we had, for weirdly enough, we had cable on vacation. It was only maybe like a week or two out of the year that I was really exposed to these quote unquote normal child advertisements. Being sheltered and homeschooled and not having things like cable definitely impacted my advertising experience. And I think that also makes it a lot easier for me to de-influence myself, not be as subject to the whims and fancies of trends and things. Only got repurchased when we really needed them. My family also wasn't made of money. Infomercials were the way that I got influenced.
My experience as a millennial growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, I lived for the feeling that I got from Nickelodeon advertising and consumerism. I lived for it. My main interests were inline skates, remote control cars that looked like monster trucks, super soakers and Nerf guns, Capri Suns, diaries that needed special keys to open them with, non-blonde Barbies with surfboards or like sporty ones.
I had a non-blonde Barbie. She didn't have a surfboard, but she was a surfer and she smelled like coconut.
Yes, I had that one too. There was one that had a surfboard also. I didn't get the surfboard, but I really wanted it. And so whenever I had a friend that had the one with the surfboard, I'd be like, can I play with this? Once they started making Barbies that weren't blonde, I was like, fuck yeah. Now, next time, just make her hair curly. And they never did. And then baby bottle pops. I didn't really like fruit flavored candies, but I wanted a bottle pop every fucking time I was able to get one. Rare occasion where my mom would let us get candy when we were out. I'd be like, I want a baby bottle pop. And she'd be like, you don't even like it. And I'm like, I don't care. I didn't even enjoy it. And I wanted it. I realize now we had cable and the TV was my altar. Pop stars, movie stars, professional athletes, they were the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit in my life. However, being poor was a blessing in disguise. Despite seeing all of the ads, I didn't actually have the access to consume as much as all the other kids were being able to. So I was using the same toys over and over again. And I was getting creative with entertaining myself. As much as I wanted it, my mom was like, no, we don't have the money. And then she bought cigarettes every day. I didn't get all those things like the other kids did, which was a blessing in disguise. I do appreciate that. I was very creative and I would come up with fun ways to entertain myself all the time. I'm also grateful to be from the generation before technology really exploded. Like technology was actively exploding through the 80s and 90s, but where it was in your face all of the time, that wasn't until I was in middle school more. We had cell phones and shit like that. Growing up as a little kid, I just got the full on on like playing outdoors all the time experience. I will say, even with that, there were still significant elements of consumerism laced into that, because when you go out and play with the kids in the neighborhood, you're constantly comparing yourself to those kids. That's just that becomes normal. I was told that we couldn't get things due to lack of money, but whenever I got something new or acted remotely entitled or casual about having gotten something that my mom deemed as a luxury, she would call me a spoiled brat. That started to reflect on like how I saw kids. And I'd be like, oh, I don't those things. Like, that's a spoiled brat. I want those things. It was toxic. I didn't understand why everyone else was able to get those things that we were seeing on TV, but I was a bad person for wanting those things. And I recognize now all of the advertising is manipulation. I wanted baby bottle pops despite not even enjoying them. And I know my mom was aware of some of that at the very least. And she probably just wanted me to stop asking for things. It didn't matter whether she got it or not. She just wanted me to stop bothering her. But either way, it did help me like acknowledge I never needed that shit. It's still not a healthy way to handle it, but I am grateful that there was a barrier between me and the mountain of psychologically impactful plastic toys and gadgets that were being hawked at the time. One thing that was really cool, in middle school, I had a teacher do a short unit on advertising, and she taught us about subliminal messaging, the importance of personal ethics, and so that we can like pick apart those adverts and like understand where that manipulation lies. And it really opened my eyes. She talked about how like jingles are written to like sound catchy so that you remember them, so that they stick in your mind, so that you're more likely to buy their product. And it was just one day where she was like, okay, this is what we're learning today. And it was unlike any other unit that we had, but I was super grateful for it. When I talk about this to other people, this one class that I had from my same generation, nobody I know has learned this information in public school.
She was a sleeper agent. She said, okay, kids, we gotta fucking go now.
So it makes me feel like she was a true like revolutionary whose genuine intention was arming us with knowledge so we could work against a toxic system. And I am forever grateful to that teacher. From that point on, I scrutinized every ad for their jingle. I scrutinized to see where their ethics lie, whether or not they were lying. She told us that there are, based on the advertising laws that exist, technically advertisers can lie in their adverts in certain ways. So that was really helpful to understand, like, yes, there are laws in place that say that they can't be misleading, but they can still openly lie and get away with it with this criteria or whatever. So anyway, I'm just so grateful because while we're all human and we can still be influenced by the grip of consumerism, I'm much more able to protect my body and my mind better now that I have increased media literacy and I understand like what the fuck is going on.
Women in STEM. We should light a prayer candle for her. Spotlight to Laura's random teacher.
Spotlight for my random middle school teacher who was the real MVP and was a force against the system. My other shout out is for my friend Natalie. My friend Natalie listens to the Couch Coven podcast. She listens to every episode. She texts me about the ones that really resonate with her and like how they resonate with her, which is so lovely. I love when she does that. I love to hear how, what her experience was based like on our subject and stuff like that. And she's been an incredible friend. She is like a long distance friend. She lives in another state, but I am super grateful for her. She always gives me good feedback, and I really appreciate her as a friend and as a fan of our podcast. So thank you, Natalie. I love you.
Woo! Thank you, Natalie.
Natalie is also very cool when it comes to anti-consumerism. She is super badass. She's like a whiz with a sewing machine. She can make anything. She used to have her own business, or maybe she still does, I don't know, where she makes like enamel pins and stuff. She is some sort of biologist and knows so much about animals and just has really cool fun facts and stuff. We went climbing and she talked about bats for the entire drive home. And it was like a free bat podcast. It was incredible. She's super cool and she is a force against the system as well. So shout out to Natalie.
More women in STEM.
But she's also like 4'9" and she might be 4'11". I don't know. Sorry, Natalie. I don't know how tall you are. And she's such a badass. She does a job where she has to go onto construction sites and stuff, deal with the ecology of it. There's big construction dudes that try to throw their weight around and she's just like, nope. I know what's going on. You don't. I just love her to death. We need more people like you, Nat. And more people like my middle school teacher. Do you have any blessing or anything you want to send us off with?
I feel like this has been a little bit of a fever dream, so I'm trying to get myself together.
This is quite a maze of an episode.
Thank you for everybody who's stuck with us, because I understand we're in an ant farm right now. We're just digging ourselves back to the same holes. I would just like to send everybody off with the intention of really absorbing things, being able to look at what's in front of you and dig a little bit deeper, just using your eyeballs. You're not a conspiracy theorist for stopping and asking yourself why you're so drawn to an ad. It's okay. It's okay. You can recognize that somebody is selling something and making a bag, and then also, but I don't need that thing. It's cool. I don't need it.
Or I do need that thing. That's also very valid too. Sometimes it is a product that would really benefit you and make your life easier or something like that. And it's okay for you to acknowledge that the advertising worked.
That's what we mean. You got to think about it. Look at it. Look at it. I hope everybody has their wits about them.
Own your autonomy. Do not give it to the advertisers.
And if you need to, go lay down and stop drinking coffee.
Is that what you need to do right now?
That's really all I got, everybody. You know what? Thanks for sticking with us.
Good luck getting to the end with this one.
I hope there was something at least entertaining about this. I was entertained.
I was a little annoyed with myself and entertained at the same time.
That's all that counts. I'm doing this for me, everybody.
Yeah. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.